Hey, what's up, everybody? Hope everybody's doing well today on this great Friday, and hope everybody has a great weekend. So I'm going to be talking in this live and about stress hacks. As you can see, weight gain comes from stress. And I'm not just talking about hard days. Of course, that's part of it, the emotional stressors. I'm also talking about the stress that chemicals put on our body, chemicals from from soaps and cleaners and the toxins in our environment, our water and our air. And one of the major stressors on our body is food. There's other chemicals, or there's other stressors like physical stressors like infections, illness, food intolerances or allergies, injuries, car accidents, things like that. Okay. So I'm specifically today I am actually going to be talking about emotional stress. Okay. So, everybody's dealt with emotional stress in their life. We all deal with our fair share and we've all had some things, but the interesting thing about how it relates to weight gain, is that your body responds physiologically to a stressor, but it's only a perceived stress. Okay. So this is going to be a really, really important word there, perceived stress, or two words, I guess, as we talk about weight gain. So I'm not going to explain how stress makes you gain weight, other than it slows your metabolism down, causes massive inflammation in your body, and causes insulin resistance. Okay, so that is those two things, insulin resistance and inflammation, are the two things that are pretty much at the root of all chronic disease. You read the research on any chronic disease that comes back to two things, basically, insulin resistance and inflammation. So stress really impacts those two things and actually contributes and causes those two things. So we're going to talk about emotional stress, because if you live in the United States or other developed countries, and even non-developed countries, but especially in the United States, we live in a very fast-paced, a very industrialized, a very just constantly on the go. We have capitalism, everybody's got jobs, everybody starts businesses, not everybody, but you know what I mean? Like there's a ton of stress, TVs, food, water, our kids, our husbands, our spouses, our wives, all these things cause stress on us, right? And so there's ways to deal with this, but I'm going to give you 2 hacks today that you've probably never heard before. Maybe you have, but they're not like meditate, and it's not like do some yoga. Those things are great. You can just Google coping with stress. There's a million ways. My background's in psychology and behavioral science, and there's a lot of ways you can cope with stress. But I'm going to teach you how to help your brain not have the same, or help your brain and body so that it doesn't have the same impact from stress as it might otherwise. Okay, so we're going to stop the impact, the physiological impact on your body, so it doesn't contribute to as much weight gain. It doesn't contribute to as much stress and inflammation on your body and all that kind of stuff, okay? So here's the 2 hacks. I'm going to break this down for you. If you have questions as I go through this, let me know. Comment below, or you can shoot me a message or whatever. But I'm going to be breaking this down. This is how I personally have dealt with my stress in life. It's allowed me to deal with things better, to handle things better. I think I'm one of those people that's just kind of like, we'll just get through it. We'll just deal with it. It's okay. I don't fly off the handle. I don't respond to stress in a very negative way. And it's been developed. I wasn't always like that. And it's an absolute skill that you can develop. And these 2 things I'm going to teach you are going to help you. Now, why that's important, I'm not saying I'm a stress expert by any means. However, I am a weight loss expert and a metabolic expert, and stress is the reason why you gain weight and the reason why your metabolism slows down. So if you can do these 2 things, you can help negate a lot of the weight problems. And if you're trying to lose weight, you got to do these 2 things. Otherwise, your body's going to be in stress. If you have a perfect diet and you have massive stress in your life, you're still going to have a hard time losing it and keeping it off. So here's what you got to do. First thing you got to do, remember, stress is perceived. So the first thing you have to do, I call the first one perception, okay? So some people think of this as like your perspective. It's how you view the world, your perception, okay? So let me give you an example of perceived stress. Remember, our human bodies are no different than our ancestors, 1,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, whatever you believe in. evolution or creation, doesn't matter. Humans have the same physiological, functions and anatomical functions, same micro and macronutrient needs now as we did, 5,000 years ago. The only thing that's changed is our environment. And that's why chronic disease has gotten so out of hand. Okay, so perception is, let's say you're a hunter-gatherer. Let's say you're out and about just looking for your food. You're living off the land, and all of a sudden a tiger jumps out at you. Well, one way to look at that is, I'm going to die, right? And that's a perceived stress, right? You perceive that something's attacking you, so your body goes into this stress mode. That's how stress works. So your boss comes at you and says you did something wrong. Your spouse, says you did something wrong. Perceived stress, right? You're starting a business. For all my favorite clients that I work with are women who have businesses and who are professionals, even though they don't own their own business. But let's say you're working and you have a deadline. You have something just pop up out of the blue, right? All of a sudden you have a stress hit you and you perceive it as stressful, okay? So here's the key. So when you go into that stress mode, you start feeling it, right? You know it. You could probably create it in your body right now. Your hands get tense a little bit. Your heart starts to pound. You get tight chest. Feel it in your gut. Maybe you start sweating a little bit. You get a little overwhelmed. Your brain starts racing. This is your body's ability trying to keep you alive to run from the tiger, okay? So it's normal. It's natural. It's healthy. It should be happening. However, if it happens often, which it does for most of us, and if it happens consistently and for long periods of time, it becomes very detrimental. So here's what we have to do is we have to change how we perceive the stress in order for it to not have the same impact on our body. Okay, so let's say something jumps out at you in the woods. You have two choices to look at it, two perceptions you could take. One is, I'm going to die, or the second is, I'm going to kill that thing, right? It's the difference between being the hunted and the hunter. Okay, so if you can fundamentally change how you perceive stress, how you look at things like failure, how you look at things like trials or illness or complications or fights with your spouse or falling off your diet, whatever it is, right? How you look at that is going to determine how it affects your body. It's a perceived stressor, okay? So the keys to the perception is you can either look at it like, I'm going to die or I'm going to kill, right? I'm going to conquer or be conquered. I'm the victim or I'm going to be the conqueror. I'm going to be the champion, right? So I always, there's different ways to look at that. The hunter versus the hunted, right? You could also say I'm going to act versus be acted upon, right? You could call it the champion versus the victim, right? These mentalities over here, the hunted, the acted upon, the victim, it's all the same thing. It's all how we perceive it, but it's everybody else's fault. I'm blaming everybody else. Trials are hard. It's not fair. It's my mom's fault or the government's fault or God's fault or my spouse's fault. It's never my fault. This attitude is, it's always my fault. I need to improve. I need to change. I need to become better. I need to hunt. I need to act. I need to be the champion over my life. Okay, so here's how another thing that I look at this. This is where it really comes into play. Let's talk about trials for a second. Now, you could classify this, trial, or we'll call it failure. A lot of people in life are scared of failure, okay? That could be anything. It could be just looking bad in front of your friends or your spouse. It could be that you're wrong, right? It could be that you tried a business venture and it failed. It could be that you tried to make friends and it didn't work. It could be that you tried to lose weight, right? That's my world. And you failed. And you've maybe failed a couple of times, right? Well, failure is only failure if you don't learn from it. So if you can fundamentally change this failure, that failure is a good thing. Trials, hard times, rough days, kids acting up, arguments with your spouse, they are only bad if you look at them as bad. They're only bad if you do not learn from it. Failure is only failure if you don't learn from it, okay? So if you can fundamentally change how you view trials, how you view hard times, and look at them as an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to act, an opportunity to be a hunter or to be a champion, versus I'm the victim, woe is me, this is bad, this sucks, I'm never going to get through this is going to be hard, right? All these things we tell ourselves, if you can fundamentally switch that, your perception changes and the stress no longer becomes a stressful thing. It becomes an opportunity. Think about it. Your favorite thing, let's say your favorite thing is mountain biking versus if you hate mountain biking or hiking. That's a better one. Most people have hiked before. A lot of people maybe not have mountain bike. Let's say your favorite thing is hiking. You have one person and one person hates hiking. And I said, all right, here's a very hard hike. And you loved hiking. You're going to take that as a challenge. You're going to take it as an opportunity to push yourself and to see if you could do it. And if I gave you a time frame to do it in, you'd be like, yeah. But if you hate hiking, you're going to go, that's the worst thing in the world. I don't want to go on that hike. I'm not doing that. And I'm definitely not doing it in a time frame, right? See the mentality? Perception. One of them is going to be stressed out of their mind, being like, I hate this. And if I have to do this, it's going to be the worst thing in the world. I hate having to eat vegetables. I hate having to drink water, right? That's what we do in the dieting world or the health world. But if you just said, no, like I get to drink water. I get to go on this hike. I get to eat my vegetables because I'm choosing to do so. It's not that I have to. I get to, right? See the difference there? And if you can do that, all of a sudden, your whole life changes. Your whole world changes. Your relationships change. Your business changes. Your health changes. You are a champion. You are in control, right? And that's the key. So that's number one. You have to fundamentally change the perception of your life and how you look at things. Failure is not failure. It's good. It's feedback. There's no bad days. There's only good data. That's a quote from Ron McMillan. Great guy. Written a couple of books, done some really cool stuff. So, all right, that's number one. Perception. Okay, you've got to fundamentally change your perception. All right, but until you do that, it's a cool principle, right, Jared? But like on a daily basis, like I got a crazy job and I got like 4 kids, right? Like I can't do this, like, but you can, right? What attitude do you think, right? Okay, so one of the things you can do to start changing your perception is the next thing, and I call this interception. Okay, I'm not talking football here, where you intercept the ball, but kind of like that. So interception, so your body, tiger jumps out at you, and let's say you are in the mode of, I've got to like run away or I'm gonna die, right? So it's a stress on your body, or a negative stress. Well, your body then goes into a physiological process. First is you have a thought, and that thought creates an emotion, and that, I should draw this on the board, maybe I will. Okay, so you have a thought, and that thought creates an emotion, and that emotion creates a physiological response and some action, okay? So you have a thought that leads to an emotion that leads to a response, okay? And then that leads to action, which then leads to more thoughts, okay? So when you have a thought, like for instance, oh, my boss told me I got to stay late tonight, or this could also be, I guess I should say, this could also be an event, right? You could also have a thought about yourself, though, and this would cause stress, or a thought about your spouse. So let's say an event happens, you get in a car accident, you get diagnosed with a disease, you hit that number on the scale that you don't want to hit, your ads fail as a business owner, whatever it is, right? You have an event. Well, that event's going to cause an emotion to happen. The emotion is going to cause the response, right? If this emotion is a bad emotion, if it's a negative thing to you, then the response is going to be a negative response in your body, right? And so then you're going to take action on that. Your heart's going to start racing, you're going to get tense, and then that's going to perpetuate the cycle, right? You're going to have more thoughts and more emotions and more responses, and it can get worse, it can get out of hand. This is what creates anxiety and depression, right? So this is the key here, is we're going to bring in both now. I'm going to tie them together. I already talked about what happens here. Right here is what we call a belief. You guys probably can't see that very well, but belief is what's going to determine how you feel about the event, right? So the event happens, and based on your beliefs, you're going to feel something. Well, what is your belief based on? Your perception of reality. So if you can fundamentally change your perception, then you changed your belief, which then you changed your emotion, and you change your response in your body, right? So that's why perception is number one, and it's so important, is because you're always going to have events, And if you can change the fundamental perception or belief, then the emotions are now different. But until that process happens, we want to intercept this cycle so that we don't have this happening. The response is key, right? The response inside your body. If the response is happening and you're going into your what's called sympathetic nervous system, that's your fight or flight. The parasympathetic is your rest and digest. So you want to stay in a rest and digest place unless you're actually running from a tiger. And then it's only a short-term thing, right? So you shouldn't go into stress response daily when you're doing CrossFit or running on the treadmill or Orange Theory, whatever you're doing. That's too often. Our bodies are not used to that. It causes too much stress. That's why it's hard to lose weight doing those things. But you want to intercept at any point on this thing. So all you got to do, these little arrows here, you just got to intercept it. Now here's how I intercept it. This is where your coping skills come in, yoga and meditation and all that kind of stuff. But you don't have to sit for 2 hours and meditate, okay, or 45 minutes or whatever it is. You don't have to take a ton of time to do this. Sure, those things are great, but I'm going to teach you 3 things really fast that are going to literally change how your brain operates. They're going to change your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. They're going to take you from sympathetic, fight or flight, into parasympathetic. These are actually shown in research to help do that. And they're really simple. The reason why I like these 3 things is they can be done anywhere, anytime, in any situation. And they don't take very much time. Nobody will even know that you're doing it. That's the cool thing is you don't have to go to the bathroom and meditate for a half hour at your office or outside. Though those things are okay. Go get some sunlight is awesome, but these things are really, really easy. So the first one is probably one of the most powerful things, and it's simply breathing. Okay? Now, I'm not going to, breathing's of course like meditating or yoga or those types of things, but there's a specific way to breathe. It's a 1-to-2 ratio. What that means is you're going to breathe in for half as long as you breathe out. This is very critical to change the actual nervous system in your response. So you breathe in for 2 seconds, you want to breathe out for 4. Breathe in for 3, you want to breathe out for 6, okay? You can do it right now. Just practice it while I'm talking. You could do this in a meeting. You could do this with I do this before I go to bed almost every single night to change my brain into rest and digest. It's one of the only things that actually changes your nervous system that you can do on your own. There's other ways to do it through other methods, nerve stimulation and things like that, but this is one of the only ways that we as humans can do this on our own almost instantly, is you got to breathe. You don't have to do it forever. Do it a couple of times, do it 10 times, do it for 10 minutes. You can do it in any situation, okay? That's number 1. And these are actually all going to tie in together. You can do them all at the same time. Number 2, it's called mindfulness. This is pretty well known in the stress, psychology world. Mindfulness is really cool. The way I do this is you can do it anywhere. I'm being mindful right now. I am being mindful of how my body is holding itself, my core. As I'm talking to you, I'm being mindful of my stomach and how I'm talking to this. I can actually, while I'm talking to you, I can actually perceive that, it's a little warm in here, or, I got stuff going on. I can feel and understand how my body's working. I can be mindful of my situation. There's lights. I have a light right there that actually allows me to have good lighting. It's kind of bright. So I'm mindful of those things, right? The way I tell my clients to use this for weight loss is be mindful of your food. When you're cooking your food and you're preparing your food or you're eating your food, be very mindful of what's happening. Chew it. Be aware of the carrots in your mouth and that they burst with a little bit of water when you bite them. There's a snap, or that crunch of the lettuce, or the flavor of the meat, or whatever it is that you're eating. Really enjoy that. Be mindful of it. Think about when you're preparing your meal. Where did this come from? Who grew this for me? Who drove it to the grocery store? Who was the guy or the woman who decided to go out on a limb and open a grocery store? Right? Be mindful of the bites that you're taking and how many you're taking, right? Like, it's really simple. Now, you could also do this in a board meeting. You could do this in a staff meeting. You could just sit and just observe. Be aware of your body, your posture, your breathing. You could be aware of, the temperature and the beauty. Or if you're outside, be mindful of the colors in the sky, right? You can be mindful of all sorts of stuff, okay? So you can do that anywhere, anytime, and it's actually going to help your brain calm down. Now, that's going to also go into the next thing, especially when we talk about food. And the third one is gratitude, okay? So gratitude is really powerful change for our brain. The way I do gratitude is I try to start my day off with gratitude. I believe in prayer, so I start off that way a little bit. But I also write down 3 things that I'm grateful for every single day. before I even start my day. What am I grateful for today? I also, when I'm eating, I try to be grateful. I try to think about who those farmers were that grew this for me, and I'm grateful for them. I'm grateful for this food. I'm grateful for what it does to my body and allows me to do lives and go out and run and play and walk and breathe and move, right? So I can practice gratitude anywhere at any time. And here's the real kicker. If you're frustrated with your spouse, or you're frustrated with your job, or your weight, or your health, or your boss, whatever it is, your enemy, right? Your frustration, your stress, right? Your stress. If you've got stress, start thinking about why you're grateful for it. Why you're grateful for your job, why you're grateful for an illness, why you're grateful. I've got type 1 diabetes. I've had it since I was 4. I've had other things. I've had addiction in my life. I didn't choose that. It just kind of happened to me. I didn't realize it was happening. I've had family issues. My parents got divorced. I've had all sorts of stuff, right? I've had good bosses, bad bosses. I've had illnesses. I broke my ankle last year, right? I've had all these things like we all do. And sometimes it's hard in the moment, but you can ask yourself, why would I be grateful for this? How am I grateful? And I will tell you, like with my type 1 diabetes, I am very grateful for it. I am so grateful for my diabetes because it shaped who I am today. I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to be more responsible. I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to take control of my health and make a weakness become a strength, right? And the beauty is, if you can be grateful for it, you'll start to change your perception. You'll seek opportunities to try and fail. You'll seek opportunities to try new things, to hunt, to be the champion, to act, right? Because you're grateful for new opportunity. So really, and you can do it anywhere, right? If you're in a board meeting or an office meeting, you're like, oh my gosh, like I got to stay late tonight. Well, write what you're grateful for that day. Maybe it's just as simple as I'm grateful I have a job, right? I mean, it could be anything, but these can be done anytime, anywhere, any situation. Nobody even knows you're doing it. And what it does is it changes your brain. Why this is important is because you're intercepting. So when you have that thought or an event happens, the sooner you can catch it, the sooner you can actually intercept that thought and change the thought with breathing, mindfulness, or gratitude, or help. And these things will help you change your perception. As soon as you can change that thought, well, now the belief changes. Now the emotion changes. But even let's say you feel the emotion of like, oh, I'm so mad. Well, right here then, intercept it right there, right? Don't let it happen in your body. Even if you start feeling your heart pounding, your stomach gets tense, and you're starting to clench your jaw, stop yourself and just breathe for a second. Intercept it. Even if you've let it go and you've ruminated over it and you've thought about it and you've just entertained that thought over and over and over again, stop it at any point, intercept it, and change it with one of these 3 things. If you do that, over time, your body will actually change the nervous system, and it will help you lose weight or keep the weight off, and it will have less impact on your life. Stress is the new smoking. I want you to know that. Stress is so bad for our bodies. And part of it is emotional stress, which we're talking about today, and other parts are chemical and toxic stress, and then your physical stressors as well. But this is key for emotional stress. You have to be able to do this fundamentally. I don't care how much you do yoga or meditate. I do those things too, like I like them. But if you never change the perception, like it's not going to really impact your body in a major way. And these are simple things you can do anywhere at any time to help change the perception, to intercept so that you can begin to change the belief so that you don't have the same emotional response and the same physiological response. That's the key. The physiological response is what's going to make you gain weight. So you've got to try to intercept it before that happens, or if it does happen, you've got to try to intercept it so it doesn't keep happening over and over and over and over and over again. Okay, so that's the emotional side. We obviously talk about the physical side. That's a whole different thing. You got to, to change the stress on your body, you got to change your food and that kind of thing. But you got to change how you think. I always tell people, if you want to lose weight permanently, you have to get healthy. And if you want to get healthy, you have to think like a healthy person. So that's how you do it. That's how you hack your stress. This is how I've been doing it. This is how my clients do it. This is how we change our perception of the world. And so that we become healthy people. So anyway, thanks for joining, you guys. I hope this makes sense. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, please let me know. Also, if this has been helpful for you, please share it. Please like it. Please comment. That helps other people also get it. Gets the message out. We all need help doing this. We all need better health in our lives. We're all struggling. We all struggle with stress. So let's get through it together. Please comment below as well what you do to change your perception and how you intercept your stressors. What do you do to cope with stress? I'd love to hear that. Let me know if this has been helpful. Comment below. If you have questions or what you do, I'd love to hear it. And I will see you guys later.